Welcome to the Monday Monologue. Well, ST70. Somebody sent me a pair of these that have been bridged to mono, and somebody got creative with them. Let's just put it that way. And they got really, I don't even know what kind of driver board. They glued motor run cap on the top. They made these stands for them because they've got so many film caps and motor run caps and stuff sticking out of the bottom of it that you can't even put the bottom cover on it. And yeah, I told the guy, I can't even deal with this. And I think the deal was, I think one of them was blowing fuses or just didn't work at all. And then the other one I think did work. And when I saw them, I'm scared to even plug them in. And so, trying to work a deal out to possibly do this on a trade with some other stuff and get a pair of these to do on the channel. And talked with the guy from Tubes for Hi-Fi, or ordered some stuff from him. He was emailing me back, super nice. Pleasure to work with folks like that. He's sending me their 9-pin board, uses 3 driver tubes, which is, he's going to send me the schematic, which he asked me not to share, so it doesn't get cloned by some China company, and I get that. But we will talk about kind of the overall, what kind of circuit it is, and we're going to get rid of all this garbage, get rid of these stands. I got to try to find some bottom covers, at least for one of them, because I want to listen to this thing. It's got a good power output for my style of listening. It's 35 watts, which, you know, with the EL34 tubes, which I really like. I've got a whole slew of different tubes in that wattage rating that could be used in this thing. It does have the early short stack transformer, which could be an issue, but hey, you know, we'll give it a shot. It does have the early cloth wire output transformer. So these are like the real OG stuff. This isn't a modern copy. This is a, you know, 1960s vintage ST70. And so I think this is going to be fun. And honestly, these super high power KT88 amps just really aren't my speed. And I feel like that, like even the R8, it was really designed to use KT88 tubes. And yeah, you can flip the switch and put EL34s in it, but the whole thing was tuned to be a 45 to 50 watt amp, depending on the output transformers used. And the ISO Tango transformers on the R8 really worked great. And that's what I'm hopefully going to be trading, taking these two on trade and selling this guy my R8, because like I said in the final video, that was the final video. I'm done. I just don't see a path forward doing anything else to that amp, because at that point you're just using it for a $1,500 chassis, which doesn't make sense. And this channel started out more as a DIY channel, and I really want to get back to those roots. I mean, we kind of got sidetracked on modding these made in China amps. And yeah, I am going to finish up with that Noob Sound 6P1. I'm still waiting on a choke for the 6C33C, but these boards should be here pretty soon. And yeah, I want to see what these guys are going to do. On the Noob Sound 6P1, I did order a legit 5K output transformers that I found on Amazon. They were cattle bile or something. Yeah, it must have translation something. Anyway, a couple of people told me that they were really good output transformers. And I'm not real sure if putting 8 ohms on the 4 ohm tap is going to get us where we want to be, but it might. And so we're going to do some testing on different output transformers. I also got some 8 watt, and I think they're 7K, 5K multi-tap primaries with a 16/8 and 4 ohm secondary. But I know they were supposed to be for guitar amps, but who knows, they may work great too. So we got some different transformers to play with on that. So I'm kind of waiting for that to come in, and I was trying to decide how to do the layout on that. And yeah, this should be the Monday monologue, and I'm talking about amplifier. So yeah, we'll get into that when we dive back into that amp. But yeah, there's something about this ST70. It's such a classic. And guys, you probably noticed that the intro Monday monologue splash screen is this amp with the Tubes for Hi-Fi quad pot 3-tube board. And it's been my Monday monologue splash screen for years. And I kind of knew that's what it was, but I wasn't sure. Somebody else had said they thought it was an ST70, and it's like, yep, and that's what we're going to be building. So we'll actually have the amp that's on the splash screen. So that's going to be kind of cool. And this fits into my whole theme of kind of following some of Hafler's early tube amp kind of products. And we got these Acrosound ultralinear transformers that I plan on doing some stuff with. And I really want to get more into kind of push-pull stuff and start trying to understand that better. And I really feel like I do kind of like natively understand what's going on with the SE amp. But I mean, I get the theory and stuff behind a push-pull amp. It's not that. I just don't feel I've experimented with them enough to really grasp like what makes them sing. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about on the Monday monologue today is experimentation versus theory. And I don't know about you guys, but I learn from making mistakes. And if I hook something up backwards, hook the global feedback up backwards or whatever, and it, it's like, whoa, what's going on there? That's how I learn. And it's like, oh, okay. Not only do I learn that that's a mistake, but it gives me an understanding about what's going on by making a mistake. And I'm continually learning about this stuff, and I'm trying to share all of that with you guys. And so, yeah, it is a little irritating when, electrical engineers that have been studying this stuff for 20 years are like, oh, yeah, you should have known that. It's like, well, you go make a YouTube channel and show us what it's all about. But anyway, I know I got to get a little rant in there, and I know I shouldn't let stuff like that bug me, but we all learn differently. And again, I've never been to college. I didn't go to get an engineering degree. I've never been classically trained on any of this stuff. And I feel like I got to keep saying that because I get accused of being like this, oh, you act like you know everything and you're the last word on this stuff. And I'm not, guys. I'm just a hobbyist that's learning this stuff and hopefully am able to explain what I've learned in a way where you can understand it. So, anyway, that's kind of what we got going on in the near future. And yeah, the stand these things are on. I mean, put in the comments below what you think. Should I go get a OG bottom cover or try to find one? Or I think people are making new production ones, and I'm not sure if the new production ones will fit on an old chassis. Or should I just go, whatever, I've got these and just stick it on here and be happy? So put in the comments below what you think. Should I make it like the classic look or just use these because I've got them and maybe respray them, or they do have kind of ratty finish on them? But I mean, there is something kind of cool about this homemade little thing that somebody made, but maybe they're ugly. I don't know. Anyway, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was a lot of you guys have been asking me for a while to build a 300B amp. And I know that first one I built was a budget 300B. And I think a lot of people, they they hear this mystique about how the 300B is just this fantastic sounding tube, and they want to buy it, and that's obviously the popularity with like that A50 and the R300 and all these other 300B amps that are out there. And I thought you could just get some, kind of generic transformers, get, a JJ or a Gold Lion or a, those Shugi 300B-Z tubes, and you're there. That's where the magic is. And since then, I've put those ISO Tango transformers on it. And that was a step up. And they were expensive, but it was like, yeah, that kind of got, that got me there, I thought. So George from Tubes USA sent me down a pair of those EML Emission Labs 300B tubes, and it's just the basic one. It's because they make all these other fancy ones too, but it was just their basic 300B tube. Put them in the amp. Guys, now I know what people are talking about. That is the best sounding synergy system that I've ever listened to. And I know part of it is, I've got this phono cartridge like dialed in with the right alignment. And then, I've played around with different step-up transformers, and I found these RCA microphone step-up transformers that really sound great with that cartridge. And then I got my tube phono stage that I think is really dialed in. And then I got those Quad S2 speakers. But when I put those tubes in that amp, it was magic. And so that's convinced me that I'm going to look at building a 300B amp just like this one is. Going to use ISO Tango iron. I'm probably going to have to get a custom power transformer wired so I can do regulated 5-volt DC heaters. I want to have them regulated, so if you put high-end tubes in it, you're ensuring that you've got 5 volts on the tube and not 5.1 and not 4.9, because these guys are saying it needs to be 5.0. And the only way you're going to really get there is with regulators. So I'm going to build the amp like that. ISO Tango iron. Going to do the dual rail power supply. Do all the stuff that I did on that amp. And then sell them with no tubes so that you can go out and buy some of those EML tubes or, EML. Emission Labs tubes. Or if you want, you could put those 300B-Z tubes in it. And, some of those PS Vane Horizon driver tubes. And, live with that for a while until you can save up your money to buy some of those really good tubes. But it's not going to be cheap. I just don't see any way of doing it on a real budget. And I haven't figured out exactly how much I would have to sell them for to make it worth doing. But it's a lot of labor to really do one of those right. It's easily double the time that it takes me to build one of those EL34 amps, which I'm planning on continuing doing that too. And again, I've got 2 versions of that. But anyway, I think after hearing those high-end 300B tubes in that amp, that if you're going to go down the 300B rabbit hole, you need to be willing to spend some money. And if you're not, and you're going to try to do it on a budget, you might as well just be listening to an EL34 or a KT88 or some other beam pinto tube and just be happy with that. Because to really get this magic out of a 300B amp, it's not cheap. And it needs to be done right. And I was fooling myself thinking that I was getting the magic out of a 300B on a budget. And we all want that. We all want to think, hey, there's really no difference between this $300 phono cartridge and this $600 one. but there is. Or that these $300 speakers are going to sound the same as these $1,500 or $2,000 speakers. And just because you spend $2,000 on a pair of speakers doesn't mean they're going to be really good. But I can promise you, if you're only spending $300 on a pair of speakers, you're not going to get just glorious sound. That's just the way the world works. And I know everybody wants this whole giant killer thing, but in reality, it just doesn't exist. And we need to stop pretending like it does. And I know I've had some folks comment or email about, oh, now you're just getting into all this high-end, hi-fi stuff, and you don't care about budget hi-fi anymore. And it's like, no, guys, I mean, that's why I'm still showing you these Class D chip amps and like these Sparkos op amps and some of these lower-end speakers and stuff. But you got to realize that that stuff doesn't perform like the higher-end stuff does. And, I don't know where this is going. I can't ever see myself throwing, $30,000 or $50,000 on a pair of speakers. I don't see that in my future. But I do see playing around with some different stuff and getting some good value, but still having high quality. And I'll give you the analogy. Back when I used to shoot a lot of film, I'm still into photography and cameras and stuff, but when I was regularly shooting, several rolls of film a week and was really looking for, that image magic, it's like I knew that a Leica or a Hasselblad would get me there. But I was like, man, I just cannot spend $2,000 on a camera lens. I just can't do it. And they were that kind of price back in like the 90s, 30 years ago. And so that was a lot of money. So instead, I bought these budget cameras and budget lenses and bought and sold and bought and was trying different things, trying to get that magic. Where if I'd just gone out and bought a Hasselblad and probably 2 lenses back then, I wouldn't have spent this other pile of money chasing that image quality. And I think that's the same thing we need to look at with hi-fi is at some point you just got to make a decision whether you're going to be okay with this lower end kind of budget stuff, which still sounds really good. You can get some really good sound out of it. But when you start wanting that last little bit, like almost anything in life, it's not going to be cheap. And you just got to decide what you'll be happy with. So anyway, I think that'll be a good place to wrap up this video. Hopefully you're enjoying my channel. If you are, please subscribe. Please like the video. Thanks to all you Patreon supporters. And thanks to you folks that make donations at my website. And I appreciate all you subscribers and you viewers that tune in every week and, enjoy the show. And hopefully you're going to enjoy some of the stuff that I'm doing. And I really hope that I can build these 300B amps in a way that some of you guys can afford it and be able to hear the magic that I heard last week when I dropped those tubes in mine. I mean, I can't describe it. And that's the sound I've been looking for. And am I at the end? No, I don't think so. But, because there's still some things like certain kinds of music sound really great. It's still, anyway, we'll get into that in another video. But, yeah. There's some magic out there, guys, and sometimes it's just stumbling upon it, finding that combination that actually works. And that's part of the fun of this hobby, is trying to find that combo that gets that sound that you're looking for. So anyway, we will see you next week for the Monday Monologue.